Really appreciate it. So, folks, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jake Groah. I'm a local resident. I own several businesses locally, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees for the Landmark Society of Greater Utica. On behalf of the Landmark Society, I wanted to personally thank you all for taking the time out of your busy Mondays to step into our humble home away from home here and spend a few minutes with us. We'd love to show you around if you've got a few minutes afterwards, and please feel free to take a look at all the information that we've got about the Columbia Lafayette District spread out about the room here. This past weekend, I was truly reminded of the amazing transformative power of a group of concerned citizens. Oddly enough, as I was picking up eggs and as I was drinking wine. Saturday, I started my day off as I often do. I was at Utica's stunning train station enjoying the many local farmers and vendors that participate in the Oneida County public market. Amidst the hustle and bustle of the hundreds of people picking up local fruits and veggies, baked goods, handicrafts, I had a chance to admire the absolutely stunning, drop-dead gorgeous architecture, the killer detail work, and the general sense of quality craftsmanship and pride of construction that grand old buildings just seem to exhibit. This, on top of the amazing sense of joie de vivre and friendship and family that Miss Beth Irons and her staff have created at the Oneida County Public Market, make me so proud to be a trustee of our wonderful Landmarks organization. Why? Because in the mid-1970s, the Landmark Society was organized for the purpose of being the voice of local special buildings and historic architecture in the greater Utica area. And at that time, our voice was desperately needed for Utica's train station. The building was in poor repair, many thought beyond saving. Folks were calling for its demolition and its replacement. My friends, can you imagine Back Square without Utica's train station? Everybody shake your head. The answer is no. I can't either. I thank our lucky stars that a contingency of concerned citizens, I believe, Mike, you were one of them, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit, yeah, exactly. That concerned citizens organized and formed the Landmark Society of Greater Utica and went to bat big time for Union Station. Because look at what we've got now. We've got one of the most impressive portals for our great city for people to be greeted by. How do you feel being traveling into Utica and being greeted by such an impressive edifice? It's stunning. So I thank my landmarkers that have come before me for their hard work, their time spent, and their persistence in saving Union Station so that I can stop in most Saturday mornings and feed me some. It's very, very nice. So I can watch our local kids' cheeks sparkle as they see Santa Claus at Christmas on Main Street, or that I can stand in a really long line waiting. Why should we care about old buildings, some of which currently may seem, what do they say? Utica's Union Station, landmark building, blighted, beyond repair, not worth saving. For one, old buildings serve as incubators for new businesses. Small businesses are the absolute lifeblood of our area's economy. And these businesses are amazing coffee shops, antique stores, ethnic restaurants, bars, pubs, small startup like Jordan Marcel's Triangle Labs. Okay? Amazing places. They thrive in these old buildings. Urban activist Jane Jacobs wrote, and I love this quote, one of my favorite quotes of hers. Quote, old ideas can sometimes use new buildings. New ideas must use old buildings. End quote. I adore that quote, and I think it speaks truly to what we are going for today. These old buildings, point two, these old buildings are people magnets. Has anyone ever hung out at Utica Coffee? Nod. Yeah, exactly. Okay. How many people do they see in an average day? People just come in and come out. There's this ebb and flow. I don't know if it's the warmth of the materials, like that gorgeous exposed brick, the stunning hardwoods, or just the way the light plays off the awkward corners in these old buildings. People want to hang around them. They want to be seen. They want to see. They want to spend time. Okay? They want to let time pass by. These buildings, they're comfortable. They're kind of like a warm hug in a frigid, cold, upstate New York winter, which I could use right now. Okay? Point three, we should care about these grand old buildings because old buildings simply have an intrinsic value that can't be measured in dollars and cents, but instead are measured in linear feet of amazing old growth oak hardwoods. They're measured in plaster work done by masons that are no longer living. They're measured in stone that's captured, that's pulled from places that no longer exist. They're no longer readily available. They're also built to a different standard. And an old building may be a better bet in the long run than its shiny new neighbor. Why should we care about old buildings, folks? When you knock over these old buildings, you just don't know what's being destroyed. Ask the brilliant minds behind the redevelopment of Old City Hall in the city of Rome. He has discovered so many amazing architectural treasures in those walls that would have forever been gone should a wrecking ball have seen the building instead of a loving hand. And my biggest love here is why we should love our landmarks most importantly, and I just really want to drive this home. Folks, regret is a one-way street. Okay, just let that sink in for a second. Once a building is gone, it's gone. It takes its history, it takes its stories, it takes its memories, and with the wrecking ball and the last load of the dump truck, obliterates them completely. When hospital architects and their representatives first came to Utica, the Landmark Society was very excited to meet up with them and share our powerful vision for improved health care for the region and more amazing development downtown in our historic Columbia-Lafayette area. We all sat down and had a wonderful exchange of ideas, thoughts, and concerns. When we left that meeting, we had hope for the possibilities and excitement for the future. When the new hospital design was unveiled, while admittedly still a shifting and changing animal, it became clear that too much of the Columbia-Lafayette district's history would be destroyed, and in fact, very little heed had been paid to preservation whatsoever. The sprawling suburban-style hospital animal simply devoured blocks and blocks and blocks of history, existing buildings. Our area has already lost too many historically significant pieces of architecture, too many cool streets, too many cool little back alleyways. These areas are truly the assets that create a city and create a sense of place. These are the assets that many miss. These are the assets that many fondly recall in stories. And these are the assets that many regret losing. Our area has already too many regrettable losses to parking lots, garages, or modern developments that were meant to revive downtown but didn't succeed, and many times, sadly, did just the opposite. So right now, we sit at a crossroads. Many will say that they've never seen the level of incredible organic and incremental growth that the greater Utica area is currently experiencing. What an absolutely amazing time, friends, to be an area resident, as we see generations of Uticans invest their blood, sweat, tears, and cash into the hot new downtown cafes, retail stores, lofts, bars. We've seen it in Bag Square. We've seen it downtown. Where are we going to go next? How about the Columbia-Lafayette district? Remember, regret, one-way street, unidirectional. The Landmark Society of Greater Utica is very proud to announce our support for better health care and a new hospital to be built at the hospital-approved St. Luke's campus. It is our mission to preserve and protect Utica's rich architectural fabric, of which the Columbia-Lafayette district is an integral piece. We are extremely excited at the prospect of a new hospital at the St. Luke's site. All of these great things that we're hearing from MVHS about a new hospital, they're going to happen at St. Luke's too. Better health care for all. A modern facility attracting new doctors, attracting new nurses and staff to our wonderful, welcoming region. The latest and greatest technology, the private rooms, the design that's conscientious of hallways and elevators for the appropriate parties, sick folks and emergency folks and healthy folks alike. These things will all happen at the St. Luke's campus. So what we love that, you've got all these great things, the economic boom that while this hospital is being built, the engines that hospitals tend to be for these areas all happen at the St. Luke's campus. And this doesn't involve the sheer and utter destruction of Utica's wonderful old buildings. The Landmark Society of Greater Utica's position is very simple. We speak for the rich architectural heritage of the area and know that we can truly have our cake and eat it too. We can continue this amazing path of, as I said, organic growth that's happening downtown through building restoration, and also get a wonderful new healthcare facility to support our vibrant, exciting area on land that the organization already owns. We sincerely hope that you'll join on board with us. The Landmark Society wants to make this happen. Let's have modern healthcare. Let's have a wonderful, vibrant downtown with great startups in our old building. We can have it both ways. And the Landmark Society of Greater Utica is super, super excited and proud to support that. So thank you guys very much for coming and freezing with us. We'll take any questions that you have. Otherwise, we have information spread throughout the room. Please feel free to wander, take a look at it. And like I said, my fellow board members and I are excited that you guys came. Thank you so much. Anybody?
What? Yeah. One-on-one interviews.
Michael Bosak, B-O-S-A-K.
Okay. And your title?
I'm Vice President for the Landmark Society of Greater Utica.
So I guess my first question is, this hospital's been in the works for 2 years now. Why just come out with this position right now today?
Well, we were a little slow in getting on board only because we were meeting with MVHS about a year ago, and we were supposed to be part of the process, as they told us. We'd be looking at possible ways to protect historic structures throughout the district, and it became very clear to us after a second meeting back I think around April that there was not going to be any opportunity to really save anything, and when the site plan came out very recently, we realized it was actually worse than what we originally thought. Much more so for surface parking, many more buildings being taken down. Some of them are vacant, but unfortunately we have at least 20 buildings that are occupied. They're occupied businesses. And of the 40 properties, many of them are tax-paying or potentially tax-paying. So we're concerned certainly about that. And this is it's a historic neighborhood. Granted, there are some buildings that could use some work, but the reason a lot of those buildings have not had anything happen to them is because of the threat of the hospital for the last 3 or so years. So I think that with some input of funds, community development block grant funds and all that, these areas could look very well. People have been there for generations. There are several businesses that have been there for a very, very long time. So we're excited about the prospects on redevelopment of this area. I think the Utica is at a genesis right now, at a nexus, because we are seeing development organically. Aside from the nano discussion, aside from the hospital discussion, people are reinvesting in old buildings. And that's true not only of Utica, but many, many, many cities around the Northeast and throughout the United States. People are realizing the value of these older buildings, realizing how cool it can be, how nice it is to be able to live downtown. And I really don't believe the hospital is going to do what they really want to do. Economic development, no.
Hospital executives have said that the hospital is a done deal. And I was wondering, I know some of the business owners are hoping to pursue eminent domain in order to keep their properties, but is there any legal recourse for you guys as a landmark society to protect these buildings that you say are so valuable?
Well, there's a couple of things, yes. First of all, I understand that the property owners are getting their appraisals right now, and they're way lower than what they expected. That's going to be a problem. So many of them, I believe, are going to reject those proposals. Second of all, they are going to start the SHPO process, the State Historic Preservation, and seeker process, thank you. The seeker process, and that starts next month. That's something, in my mind, that should have happened a long time ago. So they're going to discover, I'm sure, that there are buildings eligible to be on the National Register. That's going to slow them right down. I was at the thing on Thursday, the unveiling of the discussion, and they talked about, one lady said, this building looks like it could be portable. And I think that's very important, that the design up until this point, it's only 30%, it's a site plan and all that, but you know something? It could easily, they're designing from the inside out. You can take what they've done right now, take it up to St. Luke's campus, and you wouldn't lose any time or money. And you can start building up there right now, almost. But it's going to take it's going to be a long process, and if these business owners are not getting the money that they were promised or what they think that they should get, I'm sure it's going to be a very long, slow, drawn-out process, and this is going to slow this right down. As far as legal recourse goes, again, State Historic Preservation could really put the brakes on this whole project, and there's talk if enough of the owners do not feel that they're going to get what they should be getting in terms of these buildings, I'm sure there might be some lawsuits coming.
So your argument is to have it built at the St. Luke's campus.
Absolutely.
What is your response to those who say that that campus is outdated and we shouldn't keep building on it?
Well, the whole premise of this is that they want a brand new hospital, and some of the discussion was that you can't build a brand new hospital in that location. Well, certainly you can. You can build in the parking lots. You've got 64 acres up there. Some of it is wetlands. Okay, but you build around the wetlands, and I mean, they've done this all over the place. They've done this at Upstate Medical, where you're building buildings on top of each other. It won't impact the existing facility at all. So you simply build it in the parking lot, and then if you have to dismantle the rest of the building, then you just do that. There's no impact whatsoever on the existing facilities that are up there now. Okay.
So you can look right at me.
Michael Bosak, B-O-S-A-K, Vice President of the Landmark Society of Greater Utica.
To start this off, can you sum up the press conference here today?
Basically, we were coming out in favor of building the new Mohawk Valley Health Systems hospital up at the St. Louis campus, which is where I think it belongs, where we think it belongs. We are very much about saving, preserving existing buildings, repurposing, reusing existing buildings, and there are quite a few down there that are remarkable. Some of them are in not great condition, but I think for the most part they are far from beyond hope. And I think with the things that are going on in Utica right now in terms of organic development and repurposing of existing buildings, that it would be an absolute natural to repurpose and to reuse a lot of those buildings along the Columbia-Lafayette corridor. And for the reasons that Mohawk Valley Health Systems is talking about building a new hospital downtown, it doesn't make any sense to any of us. That should really be put up at the St. Louis campus, where you have 64 acres that they own. You wouldn't have to displace businesses that are tax-paying and job-creating. You wouldn't have to take buildings, demolish them, first purchase them, demolish them, remediate any environmental concerns, and then build a facility in an urban setting that is really designed to be a suburban campus.
Are there any specific properties in this area that you really feel have potential you don't want to see demolished?
Well, certainly there are quite a few of them. Certainly the Witzenberger building is gorgeous. I've always loved the Jones-Haber building, which has been vacant for a number of years, but if you look at the corbelling on the brick and all that, that's something that was throughout Utica you don't see anymore. Metzler Printing is a business that's been in existence for many, many years, several generations. The Wilcor building, which is the former Burgers building, is a wonderful building. It's a showroom, an international showroom. People don't even realize. That would be a tragedy to lose that, because these businesses will not relocate in Utica. Maybe a few of them will, but most won't. What's even more disconcerting to me is that you've got the police maintenance facility, which was built in 2005, so it's 12 years old, and they're talking about taking that down, putting 5 parking lots down, and this huge parking garage that really, I think, is meant to serve more the auditorium than it is meant to serve the hospital. So that would be a lot less expensive to relocate in a campus that you already have access to, that you already own, and not take anything off the tax roll.
I was listening to some of the things you were saying in the interview before. The Mohawk Valley Health System said they were going to work with the Landmark Society.
Initially, we did. We met a year ago in December and talked to the administrator and several of the board members and all, and really had hope that there would be some chance to preserve much of the historic architecture down there and really make the campus or the footprint a lot smaller. But when we saw what it came out with, the site plan came out a couple of weeks ago, we realized that it was much worse than we had anticipated, that the buildings that they were taking were well beyond what the original scope was. And a lot of it is just for surface parking and all, so again, this is totally against what we are all about. We're about existing buildings, saving them, reusing them, and keeping the character that is unique to Utica. Because if you have brand new buildings and all that, you start to look like every other city. You don't look like uniquely Utica. So we're very concerned about that, obviously.
Did you say that they have stopped working with the Landmark Society at this point?
Well, We haven't actually spoke to them in a number of months. I think the last time we spoke to them was in April, and we were trying to contact them, and we got no responses. So it was clear at that point that this was just window dressing, that they weren't going to work with us anymore. They said that they worked with a number of different organizations, but as far as working with us, we were unable to get a hold of them. Once we saw the site plan, we realized there was no hope.
Is that why the Landmark Society is coming out now with their official stance on this?
Yes.
You've been trying to work with them?
Yes, yes. It's clear that they have a mission, that they have a vision of what's going on, and it doesn't fall in line with our mission or vision. And you see that the only way to do this is to build that hospital up at the St. Luke's campus.
So what's next? Are you going to be holding more press conferences similar to this to try to get more public support, or like are you sending them a letter? Like what's the next step? Well,
I think that it's going to be all of those additional press conferences, going to the public hearings. There's one tonight, as a matter of fact. So expressing our opinion and telling people why we feel the way we feel and why we think that this is a bad idea for Utica. Certainly, for all the reasons that they're giving, it doesn't matter where you build a hospital as far as health care. That could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be downtown. It's probably much more preferable up at the St. Louis campus. But as far as economic development goes, there's really nothing out there that shows that a hospital generates any kind of economic development in terms of the surrounding area. If that were true, you would see a lot of development around St. Elizabeth, St. Luke's and all that, and there's really nothing there. So that really is not a great argument from their point of view. So we're concerned about some of the other things that are happening as well, talking about the police station, which is our 2017 ornament. There's now talk that is outdated, and they are looking at consolidating operations with the police maintenance facility, which would be taken with the hospital. The police station would not, but down the road, they're talking about perhaps a consolidated operation where you have a police station and maintenance facility and court, because the court would be sitting out there by itself. So again, the taxpayers are going to get a hefty bill on all of this, both the parking garage and the police facility. So we're concerned certainly as taxpayers and citizens with that particular problem as well.
Right, that's all the questions I have. Is there anything else you want to say?
I'm talked out.